1, The Loud Kid, A Troubled Childhood. If you had ever walked down my street as a kid, you wouldn't need a map to find my house. You'd just follow the noise. Laughter, shouting, things falling, arguments. My house was always loud, and most of that was me. I was the kid who couldn't sit still, the kid who ran when others walked, shouted when others whispered. If there was a rule, I broke it. If there was silence, I filled it. If there was a fight, yeah, I was probably in the middle of it. But the truth? Behind all that chaos, something inside me felt off, like I was different from everyone else, like my brain worked on a frequency no one else could hear. Meet my father, a man of rules, discipline, and sharp one-liners that could cut deeper than a belt. My father was a corporate guy, smart, funny, but tough, a man who built his life on discipline, structure, and control. And then there was me, his exact opposite. He had systems, I was chaos. He had a sharp tongue, a sharp mind, and a sharp eye for my mistakes. He pointed them out constantly, and at the time I hated it. But looking back, maybe I needed it. Then there's my mother, the only person in the world who saw my disasters and still called me her sweet boy. My mother was my escape, a warm, loving woman who saw my mistakes but chose to overlook them. She loved me in the way only mothers do, completely, unconditionally. If I messed up, she'd sigh, shake her head, and move on. She forgave everything. She was my safe space. No matter how much I annoyed the world, I knew I could always run to her. But even with all her love, even with her kindness, I still felt different, like I didn't fit, and I didn't know why. My grandparents, the silent judges, never scolded me, never yelled, but their expressions said it all. My grandparents were the quiet observers, never scolding, never yelling, but always watching. But that didn't mean they didn't have opinions. From the time I was little, my family had already decided, ye latka alag hai. This boy is different. I was the troubled child. And honestly, they weren't wrong. Now, let's talk about my arch-nemesis, my younger sister, the golden child, the class topper, the walking CCTV of my life. She was 4 years younger, a class topper, and my number one enemy growing up. She was responsible, disciplined, parents' favorite. If there was an award for best behavior, she'd win it. If there was an award for most complaints filed against an elder brother, she'd win that too. She was the ultimate complaint box. If I blinked wrong, my parents would hear about it. She was everything I wasn't, responsible, disciplined, loved by everyone. While I was chaos. And the worst part, she fit in. She made sense in this world while I felt like a puzzle piece that didn't belong. And then there was me, the kid who wasn't just naughty, the kid whose mind was at war with itself. Of course, back then, no one really knew what was happening inside my head. They just saw a hyperactive kid, a kid who got into fights, a kid who couldn't follow rules. What they didn't see, the way my mind worked. They didn't see the thoughts that wouldn't stop. I had to touch things evenly, repeat actions until they felt right, step on cracks in a specific pattern, and if I didn't, it felt like something terrible would happen. It wasn't a game. It wasn't a quirk, it was something deeper. But I didn't know what OCD was back then. I didn't have a name for it. I just thought I was broken. This was just the beginning. The small signs no one noticed, the habits that seemed like quirks. But OCD doesn't stay small. It grows, it shifts, it finds new ways to control you. And next time, we step into the years where it truly began to consume me. If you want to hear how it all unraveled, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. I'm sharing this journey, not for sympathy, but because if I can rise above this, so can you. Stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe to join me on the next chapter of this wild ride.